Good afternoon, everyone. This is your host, J.R. Michael, with another episode of Make That Bloody Movie with Coffee. And tonight we have a special guest with us. She is a executive producer and writer for a film called Sacagawea The Wind Catcher. It is a story that has never been told in a feature film, yet is about a well-known icon of American history. Sacagawea has stayed a mystery through the ages, yet her mark on history remains. In the adventure that will birth a nation, she sees a way home, but destiny has another plan for her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this story is a masterpiece. It's compelling, it's action packed, and it's just going to leave you off your seats with inspiration. So tonight with us, Jane Fitzpatrick. She will be talking to us about her backstory, how she started, what made her come up with the idea Sacagawea, and what trials and tribulations she faced. Well, thank you for joining us tonight. We're happy to have you with us, Jane.
Oh, well, thank you so much, JR. Really appreciate this, and so happy to meet Jolie, and just eager to present to you some of the things that have happened to me over the years with this story. It's been pretty interesting and and challenging too at times. As I present this, I want to start a little bit at the beginning. When I was younger, in my 20s, I always wanted to be a writer, and I had this deep desire finally to become a reality when I started taking some coursework and I began to write a few children's stories. And so many things really led me to this story, the Sacagawea story, though at the time I didn't really understand the synergies that were coming together until about 1989. I was sitting on Fort Rock in Three Forks, Montana, at the headwaters of the Missouri River. And I knew this was the actual spot where Sacagawea had been taken from her people in 1800 as a 12-year-old girl. And it was the Hadassah warriors had come and raided the village, and she was one of the children taken. So as I sat there, I was really enthralled by this event that happened right there, and I was it overcame me. I was so tearful, and I didn't really understand why. I was by myself, just looking over those three rivers that came together, and I knew in my soul, I just knew I was supposed to write her story. I didn't know, how it would all unfold, but as I thought about it, the many experiences in my life that had led me to that point began to become real to me, as far as directing me, leading me to this story. And that right there is another long tale, and I can't tell it today, but it's a very interesting chapter of my life as well. So I went back home. I wrote 3 chapters of a children's book until I realized that what I was writing was not the right story. I needed to include the hard things in her life, not for children. So I put those chapters away in a box, and our family moved to Washington State, and life happened. And then as time went on, several years went by, I became aware that I really, in my own self, was not ready to write Sacagawea's true journey. I needed to have an awakening in my life. I felt like I was in a place where I wasn't being open to what I needed to be open to see what I needed to see. And I didn't even know I needed to awaken. It took a long time for me to understand that part of it. In 2003, this was during the 200 bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. My daughter, Jara, was going to film school in LA, and she told me, "Mom, you should take those chapters out of the box and write them into a screenplay." I really didn't know how to write a screenplay. I didn't know what to do, but at the time we were remodeling our dining room, and I drew a timeline across the wall, and I posted on it every place in the journals where they talked about Sacagawea, and then I started to create this story, and it took 4 years.
Wow.
In 2007, I began to connect with some people. I didn't know anyone in the film industry, yet I had this enormous project. I knew it was going to be a big budget. A first-time screenwriter. How was I ever going to even get it seen? So in 2012, I began a kind of a sojourn. I went to Los Angeles, thinking I was going to make this film. And instead, that's where I began to understand what I needed to understand about the story, and that I wasn't completely there yet with the story, because there were things I needed to feel in my own self. So I had to go through some painful and really surprising experiences down there. And I was so sad to learn, really, that I couldn't trust everybody. That was a shocking eye-opener. From there, I went to New Mexico, and this whole sojourn was a couple of years. So my husband was still in Washington working and supporting me. So I went to New Mexico, and though it was challenging also there, I met some powerful people. I met our director, Karen Ochoa, and 3 of our producers, Chris Rainey, Ron Weisberg, and Jane Myers, who's a Comanche. And they've been part of the project for years, along with the other executive producers, Blaine Ginther and John Scott, producer Susan Funk from Portland. And also I met Leo Airwhite in Idaho. He's our Shoshone advisor and associate producer, and he is a direct descendant of Sacagawea.
Wow.
So then I also met someone I think, most recently. I was so grateful, really, and humbled that Martin Nusa agreed to be our senior producer.
Yes.
And Randy Hillman is our special project coordinator in financial development. So we have an incredibly talented team and an international crew and a fantastic cast beginning to form. And it's all listed on IMDb under Sacagawea The Wind Catcher. But, to take it from I don't know how to write a screenplay to where it's at now, over these 11, actually since 2003 when I started writing the script.
Wow.
So here we are.
That's amazing, Jane. I mean, it's it's like almost like when I hear the story, it's almost like the Wizard of Oz. You go you go down the yellow brick road to get to the end, and here you are. Your baby is now bearing fruit, and people are curious about it, and they want to know more. And I tell you, it's a story I never heard of, and I'm gung ho to see the final product and see what it's all about.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those words. And those are the words that just lift us and keep us going, because it isn't easy, as you know.
Yeah.
But it takes fortitude, I think, for the whole team. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And meeting good people and working together.
Yes.
And having good chemistry is what it's going to take to bring this to life. And I think with any project, you just got to have the right cast and the right, it's like watching a painting when an artist paint and you see that canvas, and it leaves you breathless. You're like,
yes,
wow.
yes, it does.
So I get it, Jane. I really get it. So let's dive into the questions now, because everybody's curious to know your answers to these.
Okay.
Question number 1. What are the biggest fears of those in your field slash position?
Well, I have seen really great changes in the film industry over these long, about 11 years. I think that it's gone from more of the Hollywood sort of elite kind of place to the independent film industry, where it opens doors for people, just your average filmmaker, to have a dream and create their dream. So I think the fears have changed too because of that. As from a screenwriter's view, I think the greatest fear is that I've learned is the uncertainty of aligning the project with people, who can really do what they say they can do. There are a lot of people who say, "Oh, I can do that," and because, in my case, I'm not hugely experienced in this at all, they want to say what they think I want to hear, and then they can take you down a path. And this is probably the biggest thing I've learned. And it could become a fear. It's at some point you realize that it's not going anywhere. You have to move on, and it's sad. It's really heartbreaking sometimes to have to break things off with people that you loved. But then comes the place where you have to force yourself not to be afraid and stay open, for the next opportunity. Because even though it also might not work out, it's really about staying hopeful. With me, I'm in a unique position, I believe, as a first-time screenwriter with an epic story. This is a story that has so much passion and controversy around it across the country. Different people have passion about Sacagawea coming from different ways. And there's a lot of controversy, a lot of disagreements on this person of history, from her name to, Sacagawea. Did she die in 1812? Did she die later in the 1800s, in the 1880s? I came to realize that I had to build sort of a bridge between Sacagawea's people and their oral tradition about their ancestor, which is my number one priority, and the enormous mass of Lewis and Clark history in 1805. So these two factions don't completely agree on some things. And it's not been easy, but I knew people needed to hear the greater purpose of Sacagawea's story. That was more about her spirit. So I had to bring these two people together. So I focused, when I wrote the story, on a small slice of her life from the Lewis and Clark journals in 1805, which both sides agreed upon.
Wow.
I visited her people 4 times in Idaho, and I met our Shoshone advisor, Leo Airwhite, there, and I also visited the Lewis and Clark group in North Dakota. And with all that information, I believe I was able to find the character, why we remember. Why in the world do we remember a 16-year-old kidnapped Shoshone girl for over 200 years? And we want to share her spirit today because, both sides have endorsed this screenplay, which is a miracle in itself.
Absolutely.
So as far as fear, I must say I really could not embrace fear. Even though some difficult and hard situations have happened, I just have to keep walking because it's past that. I mean, it may take my last breath, but I'm going to keep going.
I hear
So.
you. No, that was beautiful. That's very well said, and I think it's amazing that you got both sides to agree on a story.
Yeah.
because I always believe that you have the left and you have the right and then you have the middle in the
Yeah.
so I think it's great that the story comes out. I think people need to be aware of it. A lot of things are coming out nowadays, so
Mm-hmm.
it's time to tell the history the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So let's move on, ladies and gentlemen, to question number 2. What was it that gave you your most devastating sense of loss, and how did you come to terms with it and move beyond it?
Well, as with everybody, things happen in life that are hard. I was a single mom in my 20s. I lost my parents, my businesses. I've dealt with losing the things that I worked hard for. But in the midst of all of that, I was somehow writing this story about this young girl who was stolen away from her people, enslaved, traded to an older man for a gun. And so I always thought, how could I ever complain? That she went through so much. And, to tell this story really required a real life change in me. As I said, I had to learn to listen in my spirit. I had to tear down walls I didn't even know were there. And as with everything in creation, it's affected by, positive and negative, good and evil, light and dark, sort of moving us, pushing us, helping us to see something greater than ourselves. So through all of this, I do continue to learn. But one thing I believe, and this has helped me come to terms with it, and it's a promise. We don't know everything, but everything is known. We just have to have faith and keep walking toward it. That's it.
Wow. Have you ever thought of giving up?
Giving up has never been an option for me. I really feel I didn't choose to write this story of Sacagawea. I believe it actually chose me. And there are things in my life that moved me to this place. And that is another, that is another thing that helps me not give up, because I realize it is a lifetime of the spiritual world moving this story forward. If I don't do it, someone will. And so I promised her people a long time ago, my first time I went to visit them, that I would never give up, that I would protect the story, that I would do it accurately, authentically. I wouldn't sell it out, which I could have, but I wouldn't. And I'll never give that up. I'll never change that.
Wow. What do you know now that you wish you knew a lot earlier in your life?
I, in my early years, were uneventful. And I had wonderful parents and loving home, which is a good thing for a kid. But looking back, I wish I would have understood earlier about the real truths and realities of life and people, and what it really meant, to have deep empathy. When things are good, you kind of just skate by. But I've learned over the years. So.
Okay. All right. Given the current political climate, what are you most hopeful about, and what concerns you the most?
As I said before, all things are moving forward, pushed by, these energy, good, bad, dark, light. I believe a better world is unfolding right before our eyes, and we just have to do our part and believe. And I just feel that's how I feel about right now, the climate, the political climate, and with the coronavirus and everything. I just, we can't help these things. That's what life's made of. But It's our attitude, our hope, our faith, our belief, and our willingness to do everything that we can. So.
Okay. And last question, because I kind of went out of order, but I wanted to leave the last one for a little lighter answer. What is your what is your favorite childhood cartoon?
You know, that question kind of took me. I was like, what? And I thought, oh, okay, well, I have to think way back because, you know, I'm going to date myself here. But kind of took me back. But then I got to thinking, and I could see my brother and myself sitting on the floor in the living room watching TV on Saturday morning. And we always loved Mighty Mouse. And my brother and I would sing, "Here I come to save the day." And Mighty Mouse is on the way, and we got so excited. And I thought, you know, maybe that instilled hope in me. So
it's funny because I used to watch that as a kid as well. So, Mighty Mouse, I remember that. Yeah, they used to have it on the TV, and you just saw the mouse flying in the building. And it's like, Mighty Mouse to save the day. Wow, didn't expect that one, ladies and gentlemen. But that's a good one, Jane. That's a classic, actually. Wow. So, guys, as we're getting down to the wire of this show, and Mighty Mouse has joined us, you know, we end the show with saying, what is the coffee of the afternoon? Because where Jane's at, it's afternoon. Where I'm at is actually 7:30 at night. So we'll go with her cup of coffee, and she'll tell you what's her go-to coffee that gets her going and gets her revved up with creativity and writing. So, Jane, what is your favorite coffee you like to drink?
Well, I'm kind of a traitor today because typically I drink Starbucks French roast from Seattle because I'm from Seattle area. Okay. But today I went down to California and no, I'm not in California, but I'm a traitor because I'm picked Pete's Dark Roast Major Dickinson Blend.
Wow.
Black, just black.
Oh, wow.
And it's great.
Really?
It is great. Yes.
Oh, wow, because most people, well, actually, no, we had another guest that said they like black coffee, but I don't know, Jane, it's hard to drink black coffee.
Do it for a week and you'll never go back.
Really?
That's what happened to me. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, my father used to do that with, you know, the coffee he loved. He was a veteran, you know, a vet. So, yeah, I don't know how he did that either, but it's, I mean,
I have to interject with that.
Yeah.
I've done it for a week, Jane, and I just can't. I'm sorry.
Well,
I am so
yeah,
sorry. I can't.
Well, I understand.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I can't agree with her.
I guess, guys, it's acquired taste, and if you guys out there, any of you that love black coffee, I mean, hey, that's awesome. I personally, I like my milk or my cream, my hazelnut. You know, I still kind of work with that. You know, but I'll give it a try, Jane. Actually, maybe next week, and I'll text you and I'll say.
Yeah, please do. I'll be watching for that.
But wow, I mean, have you always drank straight black, or it was just? I know you said.
No, I used to drink cream and sugar.
Oh,
and
okay.
my mom drank her coffee black, and she said we were taking care of her, and she was getting old, and she said, Janie, she said, you gotta just go a week without that cream and sugar. So I said, oh, Mom, no, never. But I tried it. I was good. I tried it. And it changed me.
Really?
I changed.
Wow.
Well, I give hats off to you, Jay. I done it. I not even tried it for 2 weeks, thinking it. I just can't do it. And Bustelo is my go-to coffee, and it's gotta have some Café con leche. The milk and
Yeah.
sugar in it.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
I-
Well, that's okay too.
So Jane, so moving forward, pretty much you're gonna stick with the black coffee. You're not gonna go back to.
No, I'm not going to go back. No,
Okay.
I had to stick with it.
All right. Sounds good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just want to say thanks again, Jane Fitzpatrick,
Thank you.
for joining us tonight on Make That Bloody Movie with Coffee on the episode of Sacagawea The Wind Catcher. And yes, we hopefully Jane will keep us update of when the movie will be out and where we could go and actually tell the fans out there and the audience where they can go get more information on Sacagawea, if that's allowed.
Well, yeah, of course, yes. Well, we have SacagaweaTheMovie.com, and then you can get to the blog through that also. That we also have SacagaweaTheWindCatcher.com for the blog alone, but just go to the movie site, SacagaweaTheMovie.com, and you'll be able to have everything there.
Okay. Well, guys, it's been fantastic. It's been a pleasure. I mean, it's been a spiritual awakening. And again, Jane, thank you so much. And it was lovely to have you on our show. And again, your black coffee, which is fine, but you won me with the Mighty Mouse. I'll give you that. So.
All right. Say that's right. Okay. Well, thank you so very much. That was wonderful.
Thank you. And you're welcome. And good luck with everything. And
thank you.
Godspeed. Okay.
Thank you.
All
You
right.
too.
Bye, Jane.
Stay well.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.